Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio and FNP Wargamers. So today we're going to get a couple videos in. I hope, as long as everything goes all right, then I've got, man, I tell you what, my table is full of tiny commissions. I got to knock out so many little tiny miniature commissions this week. It's going to be absolutely crazy. Anyways, we're going to get some videos, get some commission painting done, and maybe even tonight on my Twitch channel. That link is somewhere down in the description below. And um, that is about it. So let's actually get into this right now. So, Marvel Crisis Protocol. And well, actually, before we get into Marvel Crisis Protocol, I've actually had some of you ask me, hey man, can you cover other games besides Marvel Crisis Protocol and all the Games Workshop games, which really right now are like probably the two top miniature games. I could have been talking about Privateer Press, but they're done. Sorry guys, but they're done. Even with their their War Machine Hordes in Space, whatever it's called, it's not going to go anywhere. Not right now, at least. They've screwed the pooch. And there's other games out there. People are like, well, what about Team Yankee and Flames of War? What about Guild? Well, not Guild Ball anymore. What about Malifaux and Wild West Exodus? What about all these tabletop miniature games? They're popular ish. They're the niche of the niche, guys. The two hottest selling tabletop miniature games right now is Marvel Crisis Protocol, and of course the big boy on the block, or big girl, however you want to look at it, Games Workshop, and all their all their games that are under the umbrella of Warhammer 40,000 and Age of Sigmar. So really, Games Workshop is top dog. Marvel's down below, really with all the niche groups like I just mentioned, but they're the most popular right now, and the largest, fastest growing uh, tabletop miniature skirmish game. Yes, there's others out there. There's all contenders. Thankfully, companies like Atomic Mass Games are not trying to dethrone Games Workshop. I think that's part of the problem that Privateer Press ran into, but that's a video for another day. But they're keeping pace by putting out quality miniatures and a carving a corner, I guess, claiming some territory that Games Workshop just can't touch. Games Workshop's really good at their big games. Whenever they try to make their skirmish games, they tend to fall flat. Yes, I realize that Marvel or Warcry is a good game. Kill Team, Underworlds, those are all good, but those have all fallen flat. They've fallen so flat that they make sure that those miniatures are usable for their larger games by giving them rules and whatnot, making them compatible. And yes, I realize that Kill Team has a new box came out. We just covered that video on Saturday. Oh, I didn't upload that. Oh well. Anyway, so Saturday's reveal was a brand new Kill Team box, and of course the orcs for Warhammer 40,000. But more importantly, it was really just a showcase to go, hey, we got these two model kits that are going to these exclusive. Well, I shouldn't say exclusive, but these two amazing new model kits are going to be in the Kill Team box. We want to get more people involved in Kill Team. Most people are not going to be. Most of the 40K players out there are not going to be getting it for Kill Team. Most people that buy that box, I would say about maybe about 60-40, maybe 70-30, are just going to be getting it so they can get their hands on the Deathcore Krieg models in there and the new Orc models. But you know what? I'm already kind of diverging from what I want to talk about. We'll get into that in the next video. Marvel Crisis Protocol. Let's circle back around. So Marvel Crisis Protocol has a huge roster of characters right now, and they're we're going to be talking about that roster. We're going to be talking about some of the team affiliations and some of the grumblings that just comes with gamers being verbal and coming, I guess, maybe coming from a place of privilege. I'm not talking like some sort of political or identity politics privilege, but just, hey, we've got our cake and we want to eat it too. No, pie and eat it and cut it up. No, maybe serve it with I don't know, whatever the phrase is. Uh, it just we're coming from a place that a very comfortable place where we can sit and complain about a number of things. But the hard thing is that it puts unnecessary pressure on, say, Atomic Mass Games. It's like, hey, why aren't you doing this? This is a clear violation of comic book lore, etc., etc. And not understanding that these game companies, Atomic Mass Games, for example, has they answer to themselves. They don't answer to us, and they most certainly answer to Marvel, because we already know that they work hand in hand with Marvel. They've already even talked about it on their Twitch streams before, that they work hand in hand with Marvel to get things approved. Everything from what costumes to use, what characters can be revealed right now, that maybe that's in sync, not necessarily with the MCU. They're not tied. These are not tied directly together, by the way. But what's what's going to be able to be revealed, what costumes can be used, team affiliations, and more importantly, quality assurance. I think that's the biggest problems that we ran into with Miles Morales and Ghost Spider in their release last year or earlier this year, was that there was some quality assurance issues. So we see this nice hand in hand work thing going on, but the fans don't necessarily understand that, or they don't even care. They're just going to complain because that's what we do. We're fans. We complain. So we're going to get into the complaints about the team affiliations, because that seems to be the biggest poopy pants thing that people have right now, and questioning, why this character over this character. I can tell you from at least being an employee at Games Workshop at one point in time, and watching the tabletop miniature, even role-playing game industry, and I think a lot of people understand this, but they just don't want to acknowledge it, or they forget about it because they see another keyboard warrior start lashing out, so they've got to jump in and start fencing with them, and it's a lot back and forth, parry, thrust, repose, that sort of thing, and the logic gets lost in the struggle to defend or attack. So what people are kind of forgetting about is that not every character that they're revealing is tied directly to any particular Marvel universe. Now, if you're not familiar, Marvel universe is broken up into basically the multiverse. And we're seeing characters pulled from all over with variations of their costumes. So as far as right now, and I could be wrong, and if I am, I will correct this in a later video, but I have not found what they call the Marvel Crisis Protocol universe. Is it six? I know it's not 616, but it's very similar, because we're seeing a lot of the 616 costumes bleed over. It's not the MCU. It's not some of the other alternate Marvel universes. So which one is it? I think it's its own very unique universe. That's why they have that whole multiverse thing going on. That's like why DC has the DC multiverse. That way they can have different comic book storylines, different teams, different characters going on without disrupting the main continuity. And I think that's where Marvel Crisis Protocol, it settles in on its own continuity. So, us trying to speculate, well, why isn't this person on this team, or why isn't this character out right now? This character clearly showed up before this one. It's kind of pointless, really. But let's get into it. I'm starting to ramble here. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the team affiliations. Let me get there we go. Got my screen up. So the biggest thing right now, team affiliations, instead of a panel to play last week, which we should have had a panel to play for Blade and or Moon Knight, I think. But they went ahead and, I think, gave us a nice break from that, which is good. That it keeps things fresh. And then team affiliation needed to be updated, because we got a host of brand new characters, and people were trying to figure out, what team are these people on. So if you're not familiar, Marvel Crisis Protocol It's about running around with your favorite Marvel characters, or at least the ones that are available right now. And you can team them up. And as long as you have 51% of the characters that are on a team in your roster, then you get that team affiliation bonus. And those bonuses are usually come from the leaders. Like, for example, their A-Force. She-Hulk is the team leader. And as long as you have her and at least 51, including her, 51% of your actual game roster, your team consists of characters from there, then you get the benefits of being on that team affiliation and everything that goes alongside that. Same thing with Asgard, the Black Order, Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, and whatnot. So we got a bunch of new characters recently. War Machine and Captain America Sam Wilson just came out. Of course, they're on the Avengers. Some people were complaining that why isn't War Machine on the Defenders? Defenders is an actual team, as you can see right here on the right-hand side of the screen. Well, this is where I was talking about. It's like people are not taking time to use some logic, take some research. I mean, you can. Now I've got a web page you guys can easily go to and look up. It's like, hey, War Machine was on Defenders. No, War Machine was not on the Defenders. He was actually on the Secret Defenders, an entirely separate team during a separate point in time. The Defenders have actually, there's several different Defender rosters in reality, everywhere from it was just like 3 characters to a much larger roster. And a later roster, I think it was like their second or third iteration, is the one that I'm familiar with. When I grew up as a kid, I remember having the comics. It had like Gargoyle and Valkyrie and a couple others. That was a totally different iteration than his predecessors. So this is what I'm talking about, is that people need to slow down, stop harping on Atomic Mass Games and getting angry with them, and even getting angry with your fellow players, because you create a toxic environment. And I hate using that terminology, but just create this nasty environment that can cause trouble not only for the community but for Atomic Mass Games and putting this product out. So slow your roll. Just slow your roll. I'm telling you, slow your roll. Another excellent example is, and people are right and wrong about this. Like down here, we've got Sabretooth on X-Force. Well, Sabretooth was never in X-Force. He was in Weapon X-Force. Totally separate group that consisted of Wolverine, Sabretooth, I believe Domino was in there. So was Omega Red at one point, Lady Deathstrike, and the Hulk, and a couple others. And it was just a short-lived series, but it was still a series. I think it was really just an arc. I'll have to go back and take a look. But the point being is that he wasn't on X-Force. He was in Weapon X-Force, entirely different team, and it was only for a limited period of time. And so it's, my thing would be like, why is he on X-Force? He might be on there just to fill out the roster, because later on they could always yank him off that roster. They could do that to any of these characters and go, you know what? Now that we've got, say, this mutant group that Sabretooth was originally a part of, or was one of the founding members, let's go and pull him off X-Force. We can do that now and go and move him over here, or just leave him there. It doesn't matter. But the point being is that they can they can do whatever they want, guys and gals. I just think that for us, the community, if we're going to get upset about these things, let's be upset about the right things, and let's at least be right about what we're upset about. I don't know. Maybe you guys let me know down in the comments. Am I off on this, or am I right on the money? So let's talk about one of the pages, and it's not Wikipedia. It is a Wikia page, but it is kept up to date, and it's the Marvel fandom database, or marvel.fandom.com wiki. And perfect example. Here we go. Weapon X Force 616, and actually they tell you about the issues. They actually have references to what issues, who was in those teams. Oh, Warpath was in that team. So, you can actually get a very good, solid understanding of who's on the team. Like, we can just deal with drop down here. Team leaders, Sabretooth, Logan, former members, Domino, Lady Deathstrike, M, Mystique, Omega Red, Sabretooth, Logan. Well, we already know that. And Warpath. It's that easy to figure out by using this, guys. So let's at least try to get some things correct. And I know one of the other things people are upset about is, Omega Red, Criminal Syndicate. Actually, we can go back to that webpage and take a look. Omega Red and Cassandra Nova in the Cabal for Marvel Crisis Protocol. And it's like, all right, what teams were they, actually assigned to? So let's find out. Omega Red. Affiliations and relationships. Doesn't give two. Oh, wait, let's expand his affiliations. Former Vampire Nation. We knew that. Well, you might not have known that. Horsemen of Salvation, the Red Room, the Hand, which that's not in the game yet. Red Mafia, the Acolytes. So, people are like, why is he in the Cabal, the Criminal Syndicate and everything? Well, the Cabal and the Criminal Syndicate are kind of like the catch-alls right now until they build up those rosters. And if you guys are not familiar, a lot of the Marvel Crisis Protocol or the Marvel villains generally are not part of a supervillain team. They usually operate independently. And it's very rare. So let's talk about some of that in just a moment. Let's first get to some of our new characters that we got coming. So we have confirmed so far. We know because it's on the team affiliation list. We know that Colossus is coming. We know that Juggernaut, yay, is coming. Dormammu is coming. And so is Miss Marvel. Because out of all these characters, the ones that we can definitely confirm is Miss Marvel, because we've seen at least one image of her, and we've seen the price and the contents for the Dormammu box. So we know that those two are coming, and unless Atomic Mass Games was just trolling us or they put it out by mistake, we know that on their affiliation list, like I said, Colossus and Juggernaut are coming. Now, are those going to be individual kits? I think Juggernaut will be his own individual kit. Colossus, if anything, I would put down that Colossus could be a dual box. Very similar to how Domino and Cable were in the same box, a small model and a large model. I think Lizard and Craven, another large model and a small model. We might see Colossus with Kitty Pryde. Let me know what you guys think down below. I'm still adamant that Miss Marvel is going to come with two different sizes. We're going to have her small size and then her biggened size. Let me know what you guys think about that. So we at least know these are, after Moon Knight and Blade, these are the only 4 characters that we know for the rest of the year. And we still have, 6 more months to go? 5 more months to go? And that's a lot. That's a lot of time just for 4 characters. So moving on, let's take a look at my speculation wish list. So in the foreground, or the bottom left, I should say, Havoc and Madeline Pryor. I think this is a good possibility. Mainly, I know this is me wish listing right now. I'm a fan of Havoc. I really like his character. And since we've been talking about Nexus characters recently, that's going to be like the one that's going to be coming in the Dormammu box, I felt it was important to talk about him. At one point in time, he was, or contained, the Nexus of Realities, kind of like Wanda and Man-Thing. So he has been considered at least one of the Nexus characters. I don't think he is anymore. I think he expunged that. But I bring these characters also up because he's got a thing for her. She's got a twisted thing for him. And in Marvel Comics, not necessarily that they're keeping in tune with Marvel Comics, ongoing things, but the Inferno is about ready to kick off. It looks like Strife is going to be summoning, I'm guessing, Madeline Pryor, and then Inferno is going to kick off. And if you're not familiar, there's an old Inferno storyline where there's demons and mutants and everything fighting across the world. Well, actually, all heroes and stuff are fighting. But I think that might be a possibility that these two will be paired up. Or if Havoc does come out, he might be actually paired up with Polaris. But I don't know if we'll see Polaris right away. I would think we would see Havoc first over Polaris because her powers are very, very similar to Magneto's. Jubilee in the top center, I think we might see her. I don't know who she would pop up with unless we see her with an alternate version of Wolverine, which I think would be pretty cool. I would be down with that. And I think we're going to see this classic costume, her original costume that most of us are familiar with. I think that's what we're going to see her pop up in, not any of her more present day costumes. Shang-Chi, I think at some point they'll round out, and that's when we'll have our Marvel Knights, or even though he's not a part of the Midnight Suns, they might just group him in with the Midnight Suns because we're getting to that point where we will have the Midnight Suns team affiliation soon. And he's got his own movie coming out in September, so I'm thinking, yeah, Shang-Chi's got a very good chance. Maybe not this year, maybe next year. And with Doctor Strange and the Madness, Universal, Multiverse, whatever the Realm of Madness, whatever that movie title is coming. We know that America Chavez is coming in that movie. She's already been cast, and well, I think the movie's already been. They're done with the production. Everything's already wrapped. But we know that her character's coming, and she is a relatively popular character. And with a lot of spotlight on LGBT characters, women of color, I think we might see her. I really like the character. She doesn't do a whole lot of the, or at least a lot of people don't do a whole lot of the identity politics with her. They just do her character. And hey, this is it, and we're going to move on and have a good storyline. I really like her power set. It's really fascinating. I like seeing some of the video games that are out there where you get to see her powers and use. It looks really cool, and I would like to see how this character is going to not only look in the game but also the playability and whatnot. So I think we'll see her. I'm hoping. I'm going to be honest. I'm hoping we see her this year. And now let's talk about teams. I know we talked about teams a little earlier. But there's a lot of complaints about there's not enough teams. Well, there's not enough villain teams. So we look at. It's so easy to recognize teams like the Avengers and the X-Men. Really, the Cabal is not necessarily a team, a bad guy team. The Criminal Syndicate is not really a bad guy team. These are just kind of like generalized terms. Even the Spider Foes, which I think is just a horrible terminology. Actually, it'd be closer to call them the Sinister Six, because almost all those members that are currently in the Spider Foes, actually, I think every member has been a part of the Sinister Six. I think that would have been a better team name. But there's still not a lot of teams out there. Besides AIM and Hydra, I don't know, but there's not a lot of there's not a lot of supervillains that have been associated with those teams. So it's usually just a handful of members that have tons and tons of henchmen, mainly AIM and Hydra, and like Shield too. That's why I don't think we see Shield on here. But I think right now, I don't even think we could probably do a Hydra, because you got Red Skull, Sin, Baron, Zemo, Bob, and you also have Viper, all members of Hydra. But that's still not a very large, it's a large enough roster, but they would actually have to turn around now and come up with a new, I think what they're going to do is put a new character out and give it the Hydra, be the leader for Hydra with total new affiliation. And then you could easily tap in Sin or Viper or whatnot. Same thing with AIM. AIM, well, not too many people are with AIM except for MODOK, really. But you can still see what I'm kind of getting at is that there's still not a lot of teams out there. There's the Thunderbolts, of course. There's the Dark Avengers. I don't think we'll see Dark Avengers, to be honest, but the Thunderbolts I could easily see, because we can easily put Baron Zemo over there as an alternate version. I think all those characters in their, in their quote superhero guys, they're all super villains, but in their superhero guys, you can easily put the Thunderbolts in there. For sure, for sure. There's the Marauders. I think we might be able to see. I didn't have that on the list here, but the Marauders eventually maybe as an evil mutant team. But right now we have the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. But we also have the X-Men and X-Force. So the Marauders could be good. That would be an interesting combination. We got the Four Horsemen, or Apocalypse and the Horsemen, but that's still another roster of kind of oddball characters I don't know if we'll actually see. So here's my predictions of what we're probably going to see first. So we got the New Mutants. I think that they have a stronger possibility of being the next wave of mutants that we're going to see. And I think at one point in time, and you guys could jump in the comments below and yell at me, even after I was admonishing people for not doing the research, but I feel like at one point in time, Jubilee was a member of New Mutants. I think it was after the whole saga was over and everybody got back together. I think she joined the New Mutants, or it might have been Generation X. But I feel like she was part of the New Mutants for a period of time. The Champions, I feel like Champions will definitely pop up, because that would be like Miles Morales, Sam Alexander, I think his name is, as the new Nova. We would have Riri Williams as Ironheart. Of course, Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, Viv Vision, maybe, and whoever else they wanted to toss in there. We could also, the Thunderbolts I already mentioned. Alpha Flight is a long shot, but I think we could see Alpha Flight. We have Sasquatch, Shaman, Guardian, Puck, and North Star, and maybe not Aurora, but North Star for sure. Then, of course, Fantastic Four. I think we'll see them. I don't know if we'll see them this year. I think this year, I think we might see a villain team before we see another heroic team. So, but Fantastic Four, I think, is definitely on the table. I'd say not even definitely, or possibly, I'd say definitely they're on the table, but I would not hold your breath until 2022. I would say Thunderbolts are more likely going to happen. And as I discussed with somebody the other day on the live stream, as I think we're going to see a new game mode, if not this year, then it'll be next year. And that will involve minions, like Hydra and AIM, because that is a big part of the game. I think we actually might see a large scale skirmish version of the game. You guys let me know what you think about that, because I know some people are like, no, don't get us into Warhammer 40,000. I think it's going to be an alternate game mode that's very similar to the ones that are already out there, like the draft and the ultimate encounters. I don't think we're going to see it on such a large scale, but I foresee this as a possibility. Where you're going to have like maybe squads of mooks, or I don't know if that's a correct term, but minions. So maybe groups of 2 or 3 AIM models acting as one, or something like that, or AIM henchmen or Hydra henchmen. We might see something like that. One of the last team I want to talk about is that we might see is, actually 2 for the ones for the mutant side is the Hellfire Club. Since we have not seen Emma Frost, we might see Emma Frost with, I think Madeline Pryor was at one point the Black Queen. We would have Sebastian Shaw, which I think would be a pretty cool character to see. And I can't think of what, there's a guy named Leland, and I can't think of his name or his power, but he was also another member. There was other guys. We might see them and the Masters of Evil, but I think Masters of Evil and the Thunderbolts pretty much have the same roster minus 1 or 2 members. And so I think Thunderbolts are going to be the most popular. And since there's a lot of whispers right now about the Thunderbolts appearing in the MCU. I think we might see them first. So, anyways, I've let this go on a little too long. Much longer than what I was intending. Let me know what you guys think of these different team affiliations. Let me know what you think about my speculation on upcoming characters and or teams. And keep it cool, guys. We don't want to. Let's not destroy our goodwill with Atomic Mass Games by overloading them with jumping on them like, hey, why are you not doing this? Why are you doing this? It's the multiverse. I know we're all fans, but man, we need to make sure we cool it because we don't want to destroy any goodwill. We don't want to lose out on our favorite plastic toy soldiers or toy superheroes. It's not. It's at the end of the day, it's not worth it. Especially not worth it to attack each other in the community. Now, it's not like some other games out there, but it does get a little prickly. So that's just my opinion. That's my 2 cents on the issue. You might not agree with me. You might agree with me. That's the joys of the internet and having the freedom to be able to talk about this stuff. Anyways, you guys have yourself a wonderful day. I will have a shorter video later on for Warhammer 40,000 and maybe some Age of Sigmar news a little later on today if everything goes well. And I will be covering a couple new tabletop skirmish games, not new, but tabletop skirmish games later this week once I get a couple games under my belt and I have a chance to read through the rules and such. You guys have yourself a great day. I'll talk to you later.